Commanding General YAHANNA will be doing the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles in King James Castle. Finally, the truth about King James, a black man who helped to preserve and safeguard the Bible. Live September 29th, 2023. Commanding General YAHANNA live at King James Castle in Scotland. Come on down and support the I.S.U.P.K. UK. Lift the glass, come and join the brotherhood and drink with the ancient as we celebrate and keep the Feast of Tabernacles for our King Yahushua in King James Castle, bringing his crew of heavy hitters. Commanding General YAHANNA will put 12 shield General Muhammad scripture breakdown class up against anyone, against any biblical scholar, untested, unchallenged, I.S.U.P.K, undefeated. Leviticus chapter 23, the Feast of Tabernacles in a black man's castle, hosted in Scotland, the United Kingdom, UK. Commanding General YAHANNA will be doing the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles in King James Castle, Thursday, September 28th, Scripture Breakdown class. Friday, September 29th, there will be a King James Castle tour, also a Johnny Walker Distillery tour, and Friday night, the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles. Saturday, September 30th, we will have camp on the streets of England. Sunday, October 1st, the UK Cookout. Monday, October 2nd, the Warwickshire Castle Tour. I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA at King James Castle in England. This is an absolutely monumental, historical event.
Want us to stop. But man, don't we deserve a shot? Don't we deserve a shot to be the Lord's people? Israel, let's do it!
We got this off mute. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yashai Baraka Thumb to all the brothers, Yahweh Shemal Thumb Bashem Yashai to all the sisters. This is Wednesday night law class. We got a Wednesday night law class in Canada for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Tonight we'll be discussing our topic, to eat or not to eat, right? You ask Black people, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you ever wonder why we have such high blood pressure, why we're dying so early from stomach cancers and colon cancers? It's because of our diet, right? We have a dietary law that was given to us from the Most High. We have a dietary law that was given to us from the Most High. There's a specific type of meats we're allowed to eat and meats we're not allowed to eat, right? That's what we're going to get into. Most Black people, their leadership is the Christian church, and the Christian church has been selling us down the road and keeping us away from our dietary law. According to Christians, you can eat everything. They just want to eat the pork. They just want to eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. Right, and for them brothers who are wild and wilding out and dating these Moabites and the Moabites, right? They might be eating shark and a bunch of other unlawful foods. Right, I'm looking for the signing links right quick. I'm gonna get you right. I got these signing links for class. Hold up, let me find them. If you want to join the I.S.U.P.K, if you want to do more than just watch classes online, attend and get credits for and the benefits of being in the I.S.U.P.K, which is the brotherhood and the love and the care that you're going to receive. Right? Hit these sign-in links, get you a Hebrew name. That's what you want to do. You want to hit these sign-in links, get you a Hebrew name, and enjoy the benefits of the Israelite Universal, SHALAM, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Right? Since 1969, under Commanding General YAHANNA, we've been teaching that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites, right? Because right now, not knowing this knowledge has Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans living in hell, right? Because you don't understand the brotherhood and the power to be gained from this book, right? Which is the Holy Bible, our history book, our constitution as a people. Right? You see them little hats. They've been trying to use the book. They're using it incorrectly because it's not for them, right? That's why they pervert it, right? But they used it to dominate, right? They're using what's ours to dominate, and they're dominating us. All right, so we're gonna get into it. We're definitely gonna get into it. To eat or not to eat, right? Now, okay, for most Christians, when it comes to the letters that Paul wrote, they won't understand. They won't understand the letters that Paul wrote because it's for Paul wrote in a style that wasn't for everybody to understand, right? It was for the men of the Lord to understand. Christians definitely won't understand this because it's not in their spirit to understand these letters, right? So we got these sign-in links you can hit right here. These sign-in links, make sure you sign in, right? So let's just jump into it. These are arguments that you're going to have with Christians as you come across them in your life. You're going to have these arguments with Christians, and they're basically pulling these scriptures and they're pulling them incorrectly. They're pulling these scriptures to argue their lust for unclean food, right? Food that's going to get you sick in the long run, right? They're pulling these scriptures so you eat pork. And pork, listen, science will eat a picture that you can cook pork at, which is going to kill the bacteria in the pork and kill the tapeworms, right? So outside of you burning that pork to ashes, right? And y'all Christians, y'all ain't trying to eat the ash, right? Outside of burning that pork to ashes, there is not a safe temperature you can cook the pork to make it edible, right? That's why the Lord doesn't want us eating pork. Right? Haitians will call it grill, right? The Lord doesn't want you to eat grill. So let's get into this. We got 1 Corinthians 10 and 25. 10 and 25. Let me read it. Whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no questions for conscience sake. Right? So whatsoever is sold in the shambles. Now, okay, so you got to understand, Paul wrote this letter to the brothers in Corinth, in the school in Corinthians, right? They were under oppressors, right? They were under heathens that were selling foods and blessing them to the gods that they worship that are false, gods that have no power, right? So Paul's writing this to these brothers, telling them, whatsoever sold in the shambles, meaning the markets, that eat, ask no questions for conscience sake. Like, you're not going to ask, was this food blessed to a deity, right? Think about it today. Brothers and sisters might be working a slavery today. They might be at a slavery in a mall, right? Somewhere in the downtown core, there's a plaza, and all they're selling there, you even forgot your lunch, right? Double whammy. You got to buy lunch because you forgot your lunch. Now you got to buy some food that you might not necessarily go out to eat all the time. Like there's a shawarma spot, right? So you're just going to get a chicken shawarma. Chicken's clean. Then now you notice it says halal, right? So what is that saying? Like, okay, so halal food is blessed. Like they pray over, Muslims will pray over the food to a God that doesn't exist, right? So now are you going to eat it, or are you going to worry about it and go hungry? Paul's telling you, just eat the food. It's clean food, just eat it. It doesn't go against the Leviticus, the 11th chapter, just eat the food. Right? Christians don't understand that. They're going to use this to say you can eat pork. Right? So let's go. Now we got to go into the true context of what we just read above, right? So because Christians are going to use this to say that you can eat pork, shrimp, and lobster because they don't know how to serve the Most High, right? And that's what we're going to get into, and we're going to prove it by just jumping a chapter or two back. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians 8 and 6. So this is 1 Corinthians 8 and 6. But to us, there is but one God, right? So 1 Corinthians 8 and 6, this is Israelites. To us, there's one God. Right? We understand that what the heathens pray to doesn't even exist, right? That's why you've seen East Indians throwing their idols into the Salakia, the dirty river that they have, right? They got like Salakia. Some of those East Indian waters are horribly unclean. And when COVID hit, when the Lord was plaguing the earth for damn near 2, almost 3 years, right? East Indians were throwing their gods into the river because they're saying their gods can't protect them. They're understanding now that their gods are false, right? These heathens pray to gods that don't exist, right? Muslims try to, because they used to worship a god for every day of the year. That wasn't working out for them. To gain power, Muhammad basically plagiarized what we have for his people, right? And to enslave other people, right? Us as Israelites, we understand that there's only one God, right? Only the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Where are we? 1 Corinthians 8, verse 6. But to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. Right? So we got to keep going, right? Again, there's one God that we serve, right? And we have a king, Yahushua in the Hebrew. Christians paint him as God because they don't understand the Bible. They don't understand what they're reading, and they don't know how to serve the Most High. Let's keep going. Verse 7, howbeit, there is not in every man that knowledge, right? Not everybody understands this. Christianity and Christians alike don't understand that there is one God, right? There's not two gods. There's not God and Yahushua, right? There's not Yahweh and Yahushua sitting on the same throne, right? There's one God. For some with conscience of the idol unto his hour, eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, right? All right, so again, we were getting food from heathens in our captivity, right? Heathens have a ritual of blessing food to idolatry, to idols. Right? again, that's why I brought up the halal food offered to Allah, right? Some know the food is offered up to idols and they treat it as such, right? Again, because the men in the I.S.U.P.K, we understand that there's no idols. Like, okay, we understand that these idols don't exist. They have no power. It's just wood and stone. Some might be made out of metal now, right? It's just wood and stone though. We're gonna eat the food if we're hungry because we understand these idols don't exist and we're not eating it like it's offered to an idol. Right? Some people don't understand that. Like some people for Christmas, they understand like, okay, when they go to their granny's house, it's Christmas ham. That ham is the Christmas ham, right? If you don't come into the house with the ham on Christmas, it's the Christmas ham, right? It's going to be a problem. There needs to be a Christmas ham on the tables of Christians during Christmas. That's because that ham represents the idols that they're worshiping on Christmas, right? That's a part of it. The same with turkey. Like, you'll have brothers and sisters fully into the oppressor's kingdom, right? Thanksgiving comes, they need to have a turkey. You can't have a Thanksgiving dinner without the turkey. That's the Thanksgiving turkey, right? Where were we? Again, for some with conscience of the idol onto his house, eat it as a thing offered onto an idol. And their conscience being weak is defiled, right? So again, these brothers, and sisters, they'll eat the food like it's for an idol, right? And now their consciences are defiled. Let's keep going. But meat commandeth us not to God. For neither if we eat are we better, and neither if we eat not are we worse. Right? Okay, so now a Christian is gonna pull this, right? But you just got to keep reading. Whether you eat the meat that was sacrificed to the idols, it don't make you better or worse, right? So now, okay, so what you got to understand is, if you eat the meat that's sacrificed to idols, right, it's not going to make you it's not going to make you better, because you know that the meat is sacrificed to idols, but you're eating it because you're not worshiping the idol, right? Let's read that one more time. But meat commandeth us not to God, for neither if we eat are we better, neither if we eat not are we the worse, right? Okay, so even if you don't eat the meat, does it make you better or worse than the brother that's going to eat it, right? And the next thing is, when it comes to this verse, right, you want to keep reading and get to the verse under it to fully understand what's going on, right? So Christians are going to use this verse because they don't understand what they're reading. They're trying to use this to say that you could eat anything, right? But we just got to keep reading, because that's what happens. You're going to get the full context, right? Verse 9. Again, this is 1 Corinthians 8, verse 9. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Right? Okay, so what you got to understand, there might be people that see you not eating and celebrating certain things, right? And they're going to think that, okay, so how am I going to say? You're going to battle with your family because you're not going to to Christmas dinner, right? You got a brother, your brother's like, yo, you coming to mommy's house? Mom Dukes is whipping up some food. It's Christmas, you know, the whole family gonna be there, and you're telling them, nah, I don't even eat. I don't celebrate Christmas, right? You're telling the brother, I don't celebrate Christmas, so you're not coming to the Christmas dinner. But the next day, yeah, mommy's house, because this Christmas dinner is over. You're over there, but you're eating the Christmas turkey, right? That brother, he's going. Let's say you even go to the Christmas dinner, but you didn't go to celebrate something for Christmas. You're just dropping something off at your mom, and your mom makes you a plate, right? You're just dropping her something off. You're gonna keep it moving real fast, get out of there because you don't want to be associated with Christmas. But your mom makes you a plate, and you know you're gonna be on the road, so you eat that food real quick, right? The brother that sees you eating that food, he's going to think you could eat Christmas and celebrate. You could eat the Christmas turkey and celebrate Christmas. Because in his mind, he's not seeing you not celebrating Christmas. He's seeing you eat the Christmas meal. So in his mind, because he's weak, he's thinking you're eating Christmas dinner. Right? So what you want to do is you're just not going to go there. You're not going to be involved at all, because to the brother that's weak, he's seeing you do something and not understanding that that's not an idol to you. To you, this is just food. It's food for nourishment. You're just going to eat it and go about your business. To him, this is Christmas turkey. He's going to eat the Christmas turkey in the name of Christmas and Santa Claus and everything that's alternative lifestyle about the world, right? He's going to be in full celebration of his oppressor during Christmas, right? Because listen, only a slave celebrates the holidays that its oppressor tells him to celebrate. Only a slave does that, because if you're Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you're just looking for a good time because we live in hell, right? So not to say we're only looking for a good time, but you're looking for a break from the hard work and the labor that you do in hell, right? So Christmas comes around, you get to celebrate with your family. It's the one time y'all damn near ain't fighting, but end up fighting anyways. What you're not trying to do is be a stumbling block, right? So I'm going to read 9 again. But take heed, lest by any means this, the liberty of yours, meaning the liberty is, you know, that is just turkey. You know, Christmas is not to be, you're not going to partake in Christmas or the holidays of the oppressors, because it goes back to their gods, right? And especially these gods that don't exist, right? But you're not going to make that brother think you can eat Christmas turkey and celebrate Christmas turkey, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with eating turkey. Turkey's a clean food. But to the brother, you eating the Christmas turkey means you're worshiping Christmas. You're celebrating Christmas with him. Where are we? Verse 9. Liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Right? Verse 10, 1 Corinthians 8, verse 10. For if any man see thee, which has knowledge, right? So you have knowledge and any man sees you. So again, you're arguing with your family about the holidays that you're not celebrating, but you have some, listen, you have that big soup pot that you were supposed to drop off to your mom. You're supposed to do it, but you were slaving, so you didn't get to do it the Christmas Eve, right? Because the oppressor had you slaving. So now you got to go drop it off, and it's Christmas Day. You might have had some stuff that you were doing. You might have been editing some videos for your camp that you had, right? Or some tapes because you and your brothers were outside, or it's wintertime in your city, so you might be inside. You editing some tapes all day. You got to run this pot to mom's, and she hooking up that food. She gave you a plate to go on the road with because you out of there, right? You don't want that brother to see you doing that. He's like, oh, you're supposed to be the one with the knowledge. Let's get back to it. Where are we? Verse 10. For if any man see thee, which has knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple, Shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? Right? So here's the next part. Now that we're getting into it, these verses aren't about unclean foods, right? These verses are about meats offered to idols, right? And that's what we're reading about as we get down to chapter 10 and 25. It's meats offered to idols. That's what you have to understand. And a Christian don't understand that. A Christian don't understand that this is a meat that's offered to an idol. To him, he's thinking it's about pork, shrimp, and lobster because the pastor likes pork, shrimp, and lobster. The pastor wants you to be eating all the unclean foods that he's eating. Hold up 1 second. I gotta edit something real quick. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta edit something real fast. Right? The pastor wants you to eat the dirty foods and participate in what he's eating. So he's leading his congregation into eating shrimp, pork, and lobster, right? While he sleeps with everybody in the congregation. Well, okay, that's what I wanted, right? Let's get down and read some more. I'm gonna read some more of this, right? Christmas is not a stronghold for us, right? A weak brother seeing you eat, he thinks he can celebrate Christmas, but it's not a stronghold for us, right? Let's read verse 11. And though thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, from whom Christ died, right? So, okay, because I have knowledge that I can eat this turkey, right? And it's not too Christmas to me, right? Again, the scenario is Mom Dukes gave you some food, you ran over to get some food, or you ran over to drop something off, she hooked you up with a plate, you took it, you might have ate it because you didn't want to eat it in the car. Your brother sees you, he thinks you're celebrating Christmas, he's going to keep celebrating Christmas, right? That's the scenario. Verse 11, and through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, right? The brother is going to keep celebrating Christmas. He's going to keep worshiping that idol, right? He's going to keep celebrating Thanksgiving. He's going to keep worshiping that idol, right? He's going to keep worshiping these gods, and he's going to perish because he's breaking the laws of the Most High. He's going against the Most High. He doesn't love him. The Most High is going to end up taking his life, right? And that's because he's watching you. He's watching you do something that he thinks means you're doing something else. He thinks you eating that meat means you're worshiping, you're participating in Christmas and these holidays when you're not. All right. Did I finish verse 11? For whom Christ died, right? Christ died for these brothers, just like he died for me and you, if you're Black, Hispanic, and Native American, right? Right. So listen, the knowledge we have is dangerous and precious. It's one of those things that you with the taking the office that we take as well. It comes with responsibility. You are now the shepherd over your people. You're the watchman. You're the one warning them and ringing the bells to tell them that these things are bad. We're the ones on the corner telling our people of the plagues, and we're the ones telling you about World War III and what's about to befall the oppressors' lands that we live in. Right? You eating that Christmas dinner in front of him, even though you know you're not celebrating Christmas, he's thinking you're celebrating Christmas, and the weak one, if he's weak, is going to make him think you could do it. Okay, imagine, what you're not also understanding, what you would also have to understand is, especially if you're a young man in this school, right? As you get up and you are able to teach, you took your officer's test, got that oil poured on your head, right? And you were given the rank that you were able to obtain, and you're able to teach, your family members are going to watch you. They're going to be watching your tapes, and they're not going to be commenting or liking, but they're going to be watching because they hear you teaching. They see you act different. They see you going outside with fringes, and your spirit is just more manly, right? If at one point they start listening to you, and they're like, all right, we're not supposed to do this and this and that. And then they see you eating that Christmas dinner at mommy's house, they're going to fall right back into the world, because they're not going to understand that the knowledge that you have, right? And that's what verse 11 is talking about. Let's go to verse 12. This is 1 Corinthians 8, verse 12. But when ye sin so against the brethren, and with their weak conscience, but when you sin so against the brethren, meaning you doing that is like you're down there sinning against your brethren, because it's making him stumble and fall back into the world or into Christianity, because he's thinking he could celebrate Christmas because he's watching you eat something that you don't deem as an idol, right? Where are we? And wound their weak conscience, right? You're wounding his weak conscience. Again, he's weak. He's not understanding that you're not in celebration of, what's another one that they what do they got? They got that Easter, right? They got that Easter. You go to your uncle's house, or you go to the family house because it's a weekend. You might have all totally forgot it's Easter. Listen, this happens too. A lot of times, brothers and sisters, when you're in the school, like outside of preparing a class to break down the subject or listening to a class, you damn near forget when the oppressor's holidays are, right? A holiday like Easter will totally sneak up on you. Easter might even fall on a Sunday or a Saturday, right? Salakia, they're gonna make it fall on a Saturday, right? Because it's Good Friday for Christians, and then Easter, and you're just thinking you're going to the uncle's house or the family's house, and you pull up and they having a full-blown fish fry, right? If you're from the Caribbean, during Easter, it's a lot of fish, right? It's a lot of fish. Any black household you go into is damn near fish. You won't seeing red meats or meats being cooked during that weekend. It's a fish fry, and listen, you're hungry. You need to get something to eat. Now they offer you that fish, and they're talking about it's Easter, Good Friday, and all that. Some of your family members know you ain't even messing with Easter, and you even saying that, like, listen, I don't believe in Easter. But you take that fish and you go off and you go eat that fish, they get in their mind, they're thinking, yeah, you mess with Easter all the way, right? So it's better to not. Now listen, you're eating that fish because you understand that fish is just fish, right? That has nothing to do with the Most High, right? You're understanding that fish is just fish. To them, they're seeing Easter fish, and you're eating the Easter fish. So it's okay to celebrate Easter, because the brother that came to the house and said he was a priest of the Most High, he was eating the Easter fish. Bear with me one moment, right? Where are we? We finished verse 11. Again, we're in 1 Corinthians 8 and verse 12. We're going into verse 12, right? But when ye sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, ye sin against Christ. Like, you know what you know that's just fish. that brother is weak. He's seeing you eat the fish. He's thinking it's Easter fish. It's better to not eat the fish or even go over there, right? Because you don't want a brother or sister thinking it's okay. You want them thinking like, yo, why doesn't this brother come through no more? And then when you see him, you tell him, nah, don't mess with that. That's like, we can have a fish fry any day. Why are we doing it when the oppressor tells us, right? You're trying to bring that brother home. Not doing that is sinning against Christ, because Christ died for that brother. Christ died for you and gave men knowledge to set up these schools so you can go wake your brothers up, right? And your sisters as well. Let's get to verse 13. Verse 13. What for? If meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend. Meaning, if eating that meat is going to make your brother think it's okay to celebrate Christmas, it's better to not eat that meat. It's totally better to just not eat that meat. Leave that meat where it is, right? Don't go over there, right? Basically, you don't want to do it if it's going to cause your brother to sin, right? Because now he's not seeing you eat the Easter fish. So he's in his mind, he's like, yo, this brother don't celebrate Easter. So when you go to break it down to him why you can't celebrate, why we can't mess with Easter, it's going to be okay. Right? So when he sees that you're not eating the Easter meat, it's going to make everything. You're not eating that Easter fish, and you break it down to him, he'll understand that, listen, this brother stands on his square, right? He stands 10 toes down with what he believes in. And that's what you are. That's what you're doing by basically not eating the Easter fish. Swap, yeah. So with that said, that is the context for what we read in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, right? It's meat to idols. It's not unclean meat. It's not shrimp. It's not, listen, a Christian, this is crazy. I spoke to a Christian one day on the corner. I asked him, can we eat pork? And he went into some scriptures that had nothing to do with pork. I asked him plainly again, can we eat pork? Is it against the law for us to eat pork? Right? This Christian turned around and said, you can eat pork because it's not what goes into the mouth. Like, he tried to give me this, not what goes into the mouth that makes you unclean. So I asked him, right? I asked him this. I said, all right, I got you. Right? Because I wasn't trying to battle him. I just needed the clip for Christians to say dumb things, right? Because you can ask a Christian anything, and they're going to give you the weirdest answer. They're going to say this, damn near the stupidest thing you ever heard on earth, right? I turned around and asked him, can we eat dog? He looked at me and said, we're more sophisticated than that. So I said, pork is okay, but dog is not. And he again said, we're more sophisticated than that. That's how you know Christians, it's just for the lust of what they want to eat, right? And majority of the times Christians eat pork to idols. Like, you look through that Bible, that pork was sacrificed to so many idols, right? That's why it's shout out to the Maccabee brothers, right? Them brothers who didn't eat the pork, right? The reason we have the Feast of Dedications, right? Because them brothers did not eat the pork. They got chopped up and tortured, but would not eat the pork. Even the mother, she watched her babies get cut up, right? Because you got to say it like that to understand exactly what was happening for this mother. No matter how old you get, you can be 45 and your mother is 80. In her mind, that you're her baby. You're still that, you're a grown man, you got a whole family, you a grandfather. In her mind, you are 80. She watched her babies get cut up, and she would not eat the pork. Right? Christians don't understand that. Right? All you got to do is just go get you an apocrypha, right? Go get you an apocrypha and dig in, Salakia. Right? Read the stories in the apocrypha. Let's get to 1 Corinthians 10. We're going to jump back to the 10th chapter, but we're going to read, before we start at 25, we're going to jump to 15. All right? We're going to jump to 15 and read from there. Salakia. This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 15. I spake as to wise men, judge ye. Salakia, where am I? Right, 10 and 15. I spake as to wise men, judge ye what I say. Verse 16. The cup of blessing which we bless, is it not the communion of the blood of Christ? The bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of Christ? Right? So, okay, so what this is talking about is, it's talking about Christ's sacrifice, right? It's Christ's sacrifice for the children of Israel, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It's a sacrifice that we live under, right? We live under a sacrifice, meaning a man gave his life for the nation of his people so they wouldn't perish, right? I mean, we gotta understand it's a sin to eat pork. Because it's a sin, we shouldn't eat it. A man died because of our sins, right? When we sin against the Lord, right, we're disrespecting that sacrifice that that man made. That man being the king of Israel, a black man by the name of YAHWH. The world will ignorantly call him Jesus Christ, right? The world will paint a white man and give that white man, that oppressor, that name and that title, right? They painted Caesar Borgia's picture and said, this is Christ, when Caesar Borgia was a child molester who slept with his sister Lucretia, right? From a crime family, right? And he was also a member of the alternative community, right? Let's keep reading. Where are we? 10 and 16. We read 17. For we being many are one bread and one body. For we are all partakers of that one bread. Right? That bread is the body of Christ, right? Right? We all of the I.S.U.P.K, we all partake, right, in that sacrifice. Let's jump to 18. Where are we? Behold, Israel, after the flesh, are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? Right? So that's a question, right? Meaning there's no Israel, there's no spiritual Israelite, right? Of that flesh means of Israel, right? It's talking about us. The questions are they following that God Paul was the leader? Salakia. 1 second. So the question is are they following that God, right? And Paul's asking this question. Paul was the highest ranking in the schools, right? He was the leader of he was the leader of these schools, right? 18 again. Behold, Israel, after the flesh, are they which eat of the sacrifices right? Partakers of the altar, right? So again, you can't be a spiritual Israelite. This is only about Israel, right? Again, it's talking about us, and this question is: Are they following God? Right? Are they following that God? Right? And this is what Paul is asking. Let's read 19. What say I then? That the idol is anything, right? So Paul's asking basically, like, is this even a real God, right? The question earlier was, are they following that God, right? Are they following that God that is the idol, right? And Paul's asking, is it even real, right? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to the idols is anything, right? So again, these idols, again, this is the context that we're reading. Christians, if they jump down from 25 just a little bit, they'll start to get the context. This context is what's in the shambles, right? That's what we're reading about, what's in the shambles that are offered to these gods, right? Are the men eating these meats? Are they going to the altar to eat and to sacrifice for the God and to worship that God? Is the God even real? This is Paul. He's checking these brothers. He's like, listen, is that God even real? Like, imagine these brothers are writing for counsel, and Paul is writing back and giving them counsel. And listen, all our camp leaders, all the men above us, they do the same thing. You'll call and ask for counsel, and sometimes that counsel will just be 1,000 questions. Right? You'll call and ask for counsel. There'll be 1,000 questions. And as you're answering these questions, you're going to understand, like, okay, this is not what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And then you'll get instructions at the same time. Right? So Paul's asking if these gods are even real. Right? Verse 19. What say I then? That the idol is anything. He's asking if the idol is real. That which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything, right? Is that sacrifice even anything, right? Listen, idols have no powers. Again, look at all the heathen nations getting messed up. Look at Hawaii. Y'all seen Hawaii on fire? Who them Japhais pray to, right? You see so many. There was a mean in one of the Muslim countries. There was a mean earthquake the other day. I think it was Morocco. Morocco had a horrible earthquake, right? It's crazy that you'll see Muslims praying to the rock, and then the rock is the same thing that's killing them, right? The God of Israel don't play around, right? I've always said this, even when I was in the world, right? The Lord has a crazy sense of humor, right? Them heathens be praying to rocks, and he moves a couple rocks, and now they dying. Country mush up, right? So again, these idols have no power, right? Let's read again 1 Corinthians 10 verse 20. Again, we're leading up to 25, right? We're leading up to 25 to break this down, because Christians don't understand the breakdown, right? Let's read verse 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils. That's why, listen, it's these, again, this is that we're talking about is idols, right? Not about clean foods. It's a question of whether is it tawab to eat the halal chicken wrap. Right, you on a slave. Listen, sometimes brothers be on that slave, man. You get to the slave and you end up eating your lunch on the first break. Lord be with that brother. He tried to pack lunch so he wouldn't buy lunch, because he'd be spending some money sometimes, depending on where you go, if it's open or not. Right? He tried to buy lunch. He tried to pack the lunch so he didn't have to buy the lunch, and ended up eating the lunch on the first break. He still got about 6 more hours to go. Good night. That brother got to go buy something, and it's a bunch of halal spots, right? So does he go and buy that halal chicken wrap and starve the rest of lunch until he gets home? Some brothers might have to travel an hour and some change to get home. Like, listen, if a brother on the bus trying to travel to a slave in a city, he might travel 2 hours just to get to that slave, right? Depending on the time he's leaving, if it's traffic, he might travel about an hour 40, depending on where he lives and where he slaves. It's horrible. So is he gonna wait that long to get home to eat? Especially if that brother don't have a rib. That brother don't have a rib and he live by himself. Good night. Then he has to wait another hour and some change to cook as well. Shoot. You might as well go in that halal spot and buy that chicken wrap, right? And don't question if they prayed over it to Allah, because Allah don't exist, right? That's what we read. That's what we read in 18, right? That's what we read in 19. Now we're reading 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, right? They're sacrificing these to devils. They're not sacrificing it to the living God. What? Right? Salakia. And not to God. And I would not eat, and that I would that Salakia. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Right? Don't give credence to false idols. Right? Caring what they sacrifice for it. Basically, like, listen, don't worry about what the hell, like, don't give them life. Right? Sometimes there's a saying about giving things life, right? Listen, this saying that you see the tribe of Judah use it all the time during raps. You see like a rapper be famous and someone's beefing with him. So let me mute my phone. So like here, you'll see a brother, a Judite brother, he rapping, right? And he getting beef with someone, and this brother's on. The next brother is not on yet. He just on in his city, but the next brother is nationally known in Canada, known in all the states, right? The brother that's dissing, the famous brother is not even gonna respond. Or if he does respond, he doesn't even call his name because he's not giving him life, right? If you worrying about if this idol is sacrificed to their false god, they're sacrificing it to devils or not, right? As giving life, right? Don't care what they sacrificing it for. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Let's jump down, and that's what the issue is, right? Are these brothers are they supposed to care what question everything, right? They're in the markets. Am I questioning it? Like, are you questioning everything? Listen, as you came into the truth, we started reading labels of foods and stuff. This is a true story. I came into the truth and started checking labels of food. I never did that in my life. It was candy. It's candy, open it, pop it in my mouth, go about my business. Like, especially the dollar stores. We got a dollar store up here called Dollarama. Good night. You getting big bags of candy for $1, almost $2. Like all the candy you can have in the world, right? $5 worth of candy, you're gonna have a good time. When I came into the truth, that big bag of candy for $5 turned to maybe one candy out the section because I started looking at labels. Everything has gelatin to a point where you start calling the listen, I seen brothers and sisters do this on Facebook. They be messaging Hershey's and what are them candy places, the people who make Jolly Ranchers and Skittles. They be Googling that thing and letting us know if it's beef gelatin or not. It's like, get that brother and sister a hand. I needed to know which candies had beef gelatin or not, right? To be honest, like, this is why, like, when it comes to candies, I only eat like realistically Jolly Ranchers because Jolly Ranchers doesn't even have the gelatin in it at all, right? So instead of me worrying about, does this thing have, okay, so I said that because as you come into the truth, you start looking at labels, you start taking what you eat more seriously. What am I eating? What is this? What is that? Right? You're taking it more seriously. You in now. You listen. You a trooper. You all black. You looking militant. Everybody in your neighborhood's looking at you like this nigga got on boots and cargo pants and a black t-shirt and a black pants all day, every day. Hold up. What is up with this camera here? Slovakia. Bear with me. We have technical difficulties. All right, so where were we? Right, Slovakia for the technical difficulties. Right, so where were we? Basically, you're gonna start looking at things a little differently, what you eat, and be more conscious of what you eat. Right now, you're gonna go into the store. You're gonna see it says halal meat, but you're hungry. You're trying to get something to eat. Are you gonna worry about if it was prayed to an idol or not? No, it wasn't prayed to a god. It was prayed to a devil. That's what these heathens worship. Don't worry about that. Right? Don't even worry about it. Just do your thing. It's clean food. It's an animal from Leviticus. Their gods don't exist. Just eat the food. Right. Slovakia. Where are we? 20. Jump down to 23. Right. So now we're going to jump down to 23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. Right? Meaning, listen, if it's chicken, it's beef, it's lawful, eat it. Right? That doesn't mean you have to go to mom's house during Christmas and eat Christmas dinner. Right? It's lawful meat. Listen, that turkey's lawful. But is it expedient that you go to eat that Christmas turkey, knowing your brother is going to think you're eating Christmas turkey or Thanksgiving turkey? Turkey is lawful, but is it expedient to go and eat it during Thanksgiving? Nah, you don't have to. Don't make that brother think that you could just go and celebrate Thanksgiving, because he's not gonna want to stop celebrating Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? He's gonna be, I want to be out in the world trying to buy some whore in the world a Christmas gift, right? That whore she got 10 niggas buying her Christmas gifts. You spent money on Dior, you bought her a little Gucci purse, and you thought, listen, I was doing good. Because you were trying to get some skins that night. When 10 men bought her a Gucci purse, that's what he's gonna think, because he saw you eat that Christmas turkey. Yeah, I can celebrate Christmas. Save that brother and help save his pockets by not celebrating Christmas. Right? Let's read 24. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Basically, dang, again. Slovakia. Bear with me one more moment, Baba Shah. Salaki again. Right, where were we? 24. This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 24. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Right? Meaning put the brotherhood first. Right? What we're doing is, again, that's why you're not going to be eating that Christmas turkey, right? Because you're putting the brotherhood first. You're putting Christ's sacrifice for his nation first. That's what you're going to be doing. You have knowledge that that's just turkey, but put the brotherhood first. Listen, a good brother wants to see his brother up, right? You want to see your brother doing well, right? You don't want to be like look at a Puff Daddy or a P Diddy, right? He signed a bunch of black people to these record labels, stole all their millions, took the wealth from their millions. You ever wonder why Diddy's a billionaire? Because he's sitting on all the artists' money, right? All the artists are, he trying to act like he's giving back their publishing now, but he already milked that publishing for everything, right? If Diddy was a good brother, he would want to see all his brothers rich, right? 25, right? Even for 24, like, again, this is why you're going to be telling your brothers what this is why we go out onto the corners to wake up our brothers and sisters and tell them about these false idols and the holidays of the oppressors that they're not supposed to celebrate, right? Because we want our brothers' wealth. It's not just about us, right? We pray we become wealthy in the next life or this life, but we want to see our brothers wealthy as well. Let's read 25. 1 Corinthians 10 and 25. Whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no questions for conscience sake, right? So again, what's sold in the shambles? These oppressors might be praying over that thing, right? These oppressors might be praying over that thing and making it. You're wondering now, like, yo, damn, do I eat this or do I not eat it? Because they blessed it to their false god, right? They blessed it to a god of rock. They blessed it to the rock god that they circle around, right? Do I eat it? Again, this is what Paul's instructing the brothers. He's giving them counsel right now. He's saying, don't even worry about it. If you got to eat it, right? Again, whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no questions for conscience sake. Don't be. Listen, there's a Benjamite saying, right? There's a Benjamite saying. And it's kind of the young generation too. Like, don't be busting your head over something that's petty, right? Meaning, like, don't bust your head worrying about don't be stressing out, right? That's another way of saying it, right? When they say don't bust your head, they're basically saying don't stress over it, right? Don't be stressing over if this halal chicken was blessed to a false god named Allah or not. Just order the chicken and go back to your slave and then go home and make some proper chicken, right? Because does Allah even exist? Does Allah even have any power? Go ask the Moroccans if Allah has power. See what they tell you, right? If you ask me if the God of Israel has power, I'm going to say go ask the Moroccans if the God of Israel has power. And they're going to say yes. Because the God of Israel is the one who's making the earthquake. Right? Where were we? All right, so now we have the context of what this verse is, right? It's not about pork, right? 1 Corinthians 10 and 25 is not about pork, shrimp, crab, or lobster. It's about food that's worshipped up to idols, right? Don't ask no questions about it. If it's clean food, if it's like a clean food that you can eat, just eat it, right? Especially you're on a slave, you're worried about if the chicken is halal, if the beef is halal. Like, don't worry about it. Just eat the food. It's clean. It's clean food, meaning it's on the dietary. It's on the foods that are allowed in the dietary law, right? Because you understand that the idols don't exist, right? Verse 26. For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, right? Meaning any lawful animal can be eaten, right? Right. So any lawful animal can be eaten. Right. The earth is the Lord's. The earth, listen, the Lord has animals that are supposed to be sacrificed to to the Lord, right? There's animals to be sacrificed to the Lord. Them heathens could think that they're sacrificing any animal they want to anything or anybody, right? That doesn't mean it has power or is going to actually do something, right? They could cut off the heads of 30 chickens and do whatever they're doing. That doesn't mean they're going to have power or it's going to be going to anywhere, right? Let's read 27. If any of them that believe not, Salakia, this is 1 Corinthians 10 and 27. If any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, and ye be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no questions for conscience sake. Right? Meaning, listen, there might be times when you eat that food, but don't let it be on your conscience. Did I just eat a food that was sacrificed to a god, right? Because you're not sacrificing to that god. You know who your power is. You know who the God of Israel is, right? Meaning, you listen. If you have to eat the food, you might have to eat the food, but that doesn't mean you are sacrificing to their God, right? Now, if it's unclean food, don't eat that. Don't eat it at all. Don't eat unclean food, right? If it's unclean food, you're not going to eat it. Listen, it would be better that you go out like the Maccabees and they write stories about you for the next 1,000 years. It would be better for that, right? That would benefit your people, right? Just think about it. Okay, off subject, right? But think about all these. Okay, think about I.S.U.P.K, Nick Cannon, and all these brothers who came out and said they were Hebrews, right? When the little hats put that pressure on them brothers backpedaled fast. Them brothers backpedaled so fast, I.S.U.P.K turned around and made a contract with America that he tried to get Donald Trump to, or I think President Biden, one of them presidents, one of them devils that were in the office, he tried to get them to like he was negotiating for black people, as if I.S.U.P.K spoke for all black people. Look how fast, like how is I.S.U.P.K going to speak for all black people, and he backed down for so long. He backed down very quick. So like, yeah, you know who speaks for black people? Commanding General YAHANNA. Commanding General YAHANNA speaks for black people. If you want someone that should be the leader of black people until Christ comes back, right? Just look at Commanding General YAHANNA. Right? You want someone that's going to speak for black people, that's actually going to do the right thing for black people. Just look at Commanding General YAHANNA, because he never ran, never will, never took the bag. So many of these false leaders took a bag, right? Our Commanding General has not taken a bag, and he's been down since damn near the 80s, putting in that work. Well over 3 decades, putting in that work, right? Where were we? 28. But if any man say unto you, this is again 1 Corinthians 10 and 28. But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it, and for conscience sake, right? Meaning, don't eat the food. Now this brother is telling you, listen, we sacrificing this for idols, right? And it's like, all right, now you know, don't eat that food. Because now he's telling you he's sacrificing the food for idols, right? And now you're looking at him and he's looking at you like, yeah, it's for idol, nigga, eat up. Salakia. You're like, what? Nah, I'm not going to do that, right? Because now you know it's for an idol, right? If you're doing it for that brother and for your conscience. I'm going to read it one more time. This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 28. But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto the idols, eat not for his sake that showed it. Right? Listen, for that brother, you're not going to eat it. For that brother, you're not going to eat the food. Right? And for conscience sake, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Right? Meaning, you know, this earth belongs to the Lord and not that idol. All right. So now you got the context for when Christians try to pull 10 and 25. All right. Let's see if we got one more. Slovakia. Yeah, we do got one more. Let's see if we can get to it. Hold up, I just gotta find it. All right, so let's go to, we're going to read one more precept in this chapter. So I can read a couple more. We got 29. This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 29. Conscience I say. Caution, I say. Not thy own, but of others. For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience? Right? The other, it's not about you knowing what you can eat, right? What's lawfully, right? It's about basically for your brother's sake. All right, let's read 30. Whether therefore you eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, Salakia, this is verse 30. For if I by grace be a partaker, why am I evil spoken of? For that for which I give thanks. All right. Great. So basically what this question is asking is like for someone. Okay, listen, a lot of Christians will say they have grace, right? So it's like a brother saying, like, if I have grace and I partake in the food, why am I spoken of evilly? Right? And it's basically it's an unbrotherly question. Right? It's a question that's unbrotherly for when Christians will say some unbrotherly thing, because again, Christianity has no brotherhood in it. You're only finding brotherhood in the UPK, right? Even for a lot of Israelites in other places, in other groups, they're going to say they're brotherly, right? Just ask them and their leaders why they left the UPK if they're so brotherly, right? And that's the realest question that they're not going to be able to answer, right? So if you're asking why you speak in evil love after partaking in the food, it's just because you're unbrotherly and you don't have any brotherhood in you. Right, so I got a next one that we're gonna go into. We got some time. What time is it? We got a little bit of time. We can get into this next one. Right, so we're gonna get into Matthews 15 and 11. Slovakia, one moment.
Commanding General YAHANNA will be doing the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles in King James Castle. Finally, the truth about King James, a black man who helped to preserve and safeguard the Bible. Live September 29th, 2023. Commanding General YAHANNA live at King James Castle in Scotland. Come on down and support the I.S.U.P.K. UK. Lift the glass, come and join the brotherhood and drink with the ancient as we celebrate and keep the Feast of Tabernacles for our King Yahushua in King James Castle, bringing his crew of heavy hitters. Commanding General YAHANNA will put 12 shield General Hyman scripture breakdown class up against anyone, against any biblical scholar, untested, unchallenged, I.S.U.P.K, undefeated. Leviticus chapter 23, the Feast of Tabernacles, in a black man's castle, hosted in Scotland, the United Kingdom, UK. Commanding General YAHANNA will be doing the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles in King James Castle, Thursday, September 28th, Scripture Breakdown class. Friday, September 29th, there will be a King James Castle tour, also a Johnny Walker Distillery tour, and Friday night, the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles. Saturday, September 30th, we will have camp on the streets of England. Sunday, October 1st, the UK Cookout. Monday, October 2nd, the Warwickshire Castle Tour. I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA at King James Castle in England. This is an absolutely monumental, historical event.
Want us to stop. But man, don't we deserve a shot? Don't we deserve a shot to be the Lord's people? Israel, let's do it!
So, okay, we're back. Had some technical difficulties. We're back though. We got a limited amount of time. Got a few verses we're gonna try and go through real fast. See if we can get through to it. All right, so we're gonna go to Matthew's book of Matthew, chapter 15. I'm gonna go to Matthew's 15 and 1. Right. So okay, so this is all right. So we're back. We're at Matthew 15 and 1. Right now, Christians will use this to, again, you're going to be battling a Christian about why you're not eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, and they're going to pull they're going to pull this verse as for why it's okay to eat pork, right? Again, because a Christian doesn't have the Spirit of God on them. They're going to battle you about eating pork, right? So this is Matthew 15 and 1. Then came to Jesus, scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, right? So there was Christ's biggest enemy, right? If you ask who would be if you were to ask who would be Christ's biggest enemy today, it would be the Christian church, right? Christian church, you black preachers, you black pastors, you multi-million-dollar preachers and pastors with empty churches while black people go homeless in California, in New York, in Chicago, while Haitians starve, right? You're the reason. You would be Christ's biggest enemy. You would be who Christ is battling every day, right? How do we know? Because you battle the I.S.U.P.K every chance you get. Every chance you get, you try to tell the I.S.U.P.K we're wrong for telling black people not to eat pork. Verse 2. Why do thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? Right? Listen, they're trying to catch Yahushua, our King, Jesus Christ, right? A black man. They're trying to catch him slipping right now. You're trying to catch him up by asking him questions, and that's what they would do every day. For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Wait. So now we're reading the first two verses, right? Christians are trying to take us to Matthew's 15 and 11, right? Salaki, you know what? Let me read Matthew's 15 and 11 first. Salaki, that's what I was supposed to do. Let me read Matthew's 15 and 11 first. This is Matthew's 15 and 11. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which is come out of the mouth defileth a man. Christians are going to pull that to say you can eat pork, right? That's going to give you context to why I'm reading verses 1 and 2. So let's go to the start of this, right? We're going to go to the start of this chapter for the context of that verse. Christians never want to give you the context for this verse because it's going to deflate a Christian fast. It's going to make a Christian think that it's going to prove that a Christian doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Salakia, right? So this is chapter 15, Matthew 15, verse 1. Then came to Jesus, scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, verse 2, why do thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Right? So they're trying to say, listen, your people aren't eating bread. Your people aren't washing their hands when they eat bread. Listen, Christ was walking around doing miracles. He was known for his miracles, had a following, right? A bunch of people followed him until he told them to drink his blood and eat his body for bread, right? Drink his blood like wine, right? Basically, he's saying like the wine is his blood and the bread is his body, and they were confused. They didn't understand what they were talking about, and he was basically telling them, you have to fully be like me. You have to think like me, and listen, you got to be me, right? Verse 2, or we read verse 2, verse 3. But he answered and said unto them, why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your traditions? Right? There are traditions of listen, the Sadducees and Pharisees, they had rank, they had money and were famous. They like the famous pastors right now. They were up there, right? It's like you're Kurt Franklin, and they see Kurt Franklin walking down the street, and everybody wants to stop. Like Negroes will stop and start singing and dancing if Kurt Franklin walked down the street. Right? Because Kurt Franklin, he's a famous Negro spiritual pastor. Christ is checking them right now, and he's telling them, like, listen, why are you saying anything to me about anything when you don't keep the Lord's commandments? Verse 4, right? And listen, Christ understood the spirit behind the question. Tradition is a habit, right? It's something that the people of that time did, like washing their hands before they eat. That was their habit. That was their tradition. Christ flipped it on them and asking them a question when they tried to ask him a question. He's basically asking them, why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? Right? Let's read verse 4. For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. Right? He's saying this because that's what they were doing at the time. They were dishonoring their fathers and mothers. You see Christians do it today. Christians will be like, I'm in the church, and then stop calling their mom. Only call their mom on Valentine's Day or on Mother's Day, right? You know, them older Christian women, they're single. They don't have nobody on Valentine's Day. They don't have nobody anytime, right? So instead of Valentine's Day, the Christian in the world, so instead of doing what Christians in the world do on Valentine's Day, they try to call their mom, right? They're only messaging their mother on Mother's Day or their father on Father's Day, right? But even today, you see Christians putting their loved ones in homes. They will fully put their loved one in a home. And listen, they're going to have their mother in a home. The mother's being abused, or their father in a home. The father is being abused because they're in a home, right? Let's get to it. Verse 5. Right? Verse 5 says, this is Matthew 15:5. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me. Right? Listen, it's like you stick your parent in a home and then you go check up on them and you're basically talking to them. It's like, listen, it's a gift that I'm taking care of you, or they live at your house and you're letting them know it's a gift that I'm taking care of you, right? Putting them in an old folks home is a gift. That's basically what the spirit of what that's saying, right? The simple things are a gift, right? And Christ is cutting them to the core, right? Because Christians will take the simplest things in the earth, like brotherhood, and make it a gift and be like, listen, I did something good for you. It was a gift. When it's brotherhood, it's your duty to be a brother. It's your duty to be a sister to your brothers and sisters. Verse 6. And listen, this is, as we read when we read verse 5, Christ, after he's cutting them, you're going to find out why he's cutting them, because he understands the spirit behind these questions. They were always trying to slip them up. And Christ was confuffled a bunch of people, or have you tripping up and not understanding and walking away feeling stupid, right? This is Matthew 15:6. And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandments of God none effect by your tradition. Right? So he's telling them they're hypocrites. Right? He's telling them that they were hypocrites. Christ was a warrior. Christ was a man that would speak sternly to the Sadducees and the Pharisees and put them in their place. Right? Because they had pull and he cut them, right? He would put them in their place because, listen, they had pull amongst everybody and he would cut the hell out of them. This is why it breaks a Christian's heart whenever they see their pastor, right? And I can only imagine what's happening in the church after their pastor battles UPK. Like after they go and stand in front of the camp and get smashed, right, to bits and pieces. After they go and try to battle Captain Tazariak, right, and get obliterated, right? After, listen, it's like Captain Tazariak, I watched his debate with Vocab Malone, and that was horrible, right? Cap used that man like a punching bag. You would have thought that devil would have prepared more. You would have thought like he had so many years of after ducking for so many years that he would have prepared more. It was a horrible battle on Vocab Malone's part. Cap used him as a punching bag and just beat the brakes off of him. And the match was it's just so uneven. It was bad. It was bad. But listen, Christ was battling every day too. Right? Salakia. Let's read 6 again. Where are we? And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus had ye made the commandments of God none effect by your tradition. He's basically saying, listen, you're talking about the traditions of men when you make the commandments of God have no effect, right? Because of your traditions. Verse 7, ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, he's basically saying, right? Isaiah prophesies of these Sadducees and Pharisees. Verse 8. This is Matthew 15 and verse 8. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth. Listen, that's just like the Christian church. That is just like the Christian church. The Christian church will say some things with their mouth. They'll say they love God and use that same mouth to defile that nasty part. Stuff a bunch of, how many fried shrimps can they stuff in their face? And the Christian church is going to take that same mouth and say, I love God with the fried shrimp breath. They got the fried shrimp breath and the nasty crab breath, right? And listen, some of you Christian sisters be wondering why y'all need to go check the doctor. Be wondering why the men that you have, he checking his other wife because he don't want to be around you, because he asking you if you were eating fish, and y'all weren't even at dinner. You were in the bed, and he's asking if you were eating fish, and it's bad. It smells like shrimp, and just like it's bad. Right? Y'all need to go work that out. Stop eating the crab and the shrimp and the lobsters and the pork. Listen, people who eat pork, when they sweat, good night. You could tell who eats pork when they sweat. Right? That sweat is it smells horrible. Where are we? But honoreth me with their lips. Wait, Salakia. Verse 8. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their hearts is far from me. That is the Christian church. That's the Pharisees right there. Their hearts were far from Christ, right? Again, remember, Christians are trying to use this verse 11, to talk about pork, right? When we read up earlier, we found out it was about Christ's men not washing their hands before they eat. They just came off the road. They were, you know how it goes, man. Like Slakia, every brother knows how this goes, right? Listen, if you had a rib, your rib probably argued with you about this, not washing your hands the first thing you do when you come in. Sometimes a brother just comes in off the road, man, and listen, he might forget to wash his hands, and listen, that food is calling. He hungry. He been slaving all day. The oppressor been getting on his nerves all day. He's slaving. You got to get rid of that. He's trying to eat something. He might forget to wash his hands real quick, right? And that's what these Christians do, right? They honor the Father with their mouth and their lips, but their heart is far from him, meaning they're still celebrating all the oppressors' gods. They're still eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, right? Where are we? Verse 9. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines and commandments of men. Christ matched aggression, but with knowledge, right? And he's telling them they were putting the doctrine of men over God. Christianity does this on a regular basis. What's a doctrine of men? You can only have one wife in the oppressor's kingdom. The oppressor is going to tell you can only come to him and marry one woman on paper, but then make an app called Ashley Madison where it's about infidelity. But that's okay. The oppressor will tell you you could only have one woman on paper, but then tell you if a young man in his 20s sleeps with a bunch of women, he's just sleeping with them, he's a bachelor. He got some money. He on the come up, and he just dating and sleeping with women, and if he don't like her, eventually he tosses her back into the water, right? He's a bachelor. But if a brother decides to keep that woman forever and get a next one and keep her forever, they'll say that is wrong, right? That's the society we live in, right? That's what Christ was talking about, commandments of men, right? And that's what the Pharisees were doing. They weren't keeping the commandments of the Most High, but keeping the commandments of men. But in vain do they worship me, meaning they're trying to talk to Christ about why his men aren't washing their hands before they eat bread, right? Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Verse 10, and he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand, right? So now he's going to break down what he's talking about, right? Now that you got the context of what we're about to read, you understand what we're about to read. And you got to ask Christians, how do you go from talking about eating food with dirty hands to now you can eat dirty foods, right? Christians will grasp at straws trying to make anything fit their lust. And that's usually what a lustful person will do. They'll just say anything to fit it, right? It doesn't matter what it is. They're just saying whatever they can to fit their lust at the moment. Verse 10, this is Matthew 15 and verse 10. And he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand. Salakia, one moment. Right. So let's get into it. Thawada for sticking around with all the technical difficulties. Right. Hear and understand. Matthew 15, verse 11. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man. So he's letting them know, listen, you're thinking what goes into the mouth is defiling a man. Meaning these brothers' hands are dirty. Is it the dirt is defiling him? Because he didn't wash his hands and eat, he's defiled, right? If you live with a woman, this is a classic conversation. You came inside, did you wash your hands yet? Right? Listen, a woman will make your house beautiful, right? If you don't wash your hands all the time, is it going to kill you? La. The Lord has the power to kill you. You not washing your hands it's not going to kill you. You know what's going to kill you? Eating pork. Eating pork is 100% going to kill you. Eating shrimp, eating lobster is 100% going to kill you. Asking, listen, are you going to die because you didn't wash your hands before you ate that sandwich? Listen, that fried chicken was smelling so good. You seen it on the plate and you couldn't wait. You've been hungry. You've been on the road all day. You seen that thing on the plate. You just go grab a piece off your plate. You didn't even wash your hands yet. Is it going to kill you? Not keeping the commandments is going to kill you. For sure. Not keeping the commandments is going to kill you. Christians take this verse and they turn around and make it the end all be all for eating pork. Listen, it's not what defiles you. It's not what goes into the mouth defiles you, right? Somehow they read the first two verses and said, okay, it's about dirty hands, but now let's make it about dirty pork, right? Verse 11, Matthew 15, verse 11, not that which go into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth defileth a man, right? Them pastors been defiled. Them pastors been telling blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for years. They've been telling grandma she can cook that pork. Now you go inside, it's chitlins and pig's feet. Listen, you're Benjamin. You know about the pig's feet. Good night. Listen, pig's feet is disgusting. It's disgusting. Pig is horrible, but you're eating the pig's foot. That pig been trotting around in manure all day. Its own manure. That pig will march through a whole dead body, and grandma in the kitchen trying to hook that thing up. Have the whole house smelling funky. Right? Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, meaning because you didn't wash your hands, you're not being defiled. This is what cometh out, meaning your pastor telling you you can eat pork, shrimp, and lobster. That's what's defiling you. Right? Slovakia. All right. So with that said, we're going to bring a close to this class. Right? We're going to be bringing a close to this class. So I got some announcements that I'm going to read for you real fast. Again, these are cuts you could use for Christians. You could always ask. There's some more that we could always get into. We're going to save for a later date, right? And probably do something else with them. But you could always ask for these precepts in any class, right? So again, I am priest and officer certified 1000, Salakia. Priest and officer 1000 Zabaja. I was about to say 500. I had like a little flashback. I was about to be like 500. Like, good night. Listen, this is a good thing to have flashbacks in here, man. You start to think about all the things you've done in here, which is not a lot. You be doing a lot of things, but really it's just a little bit. We just biding our time until our king comes back. We're trying to gather as much people as we can for him for when he comes back, right? But again, I'm Priest and Officer 1000 Zabaja of the I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General YAHANNA, started out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We teach that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites of the Bible. We've been doing this since 1969, all right? We're going to keep doing it until our King Yahushua comes to set us free, right? In the meantime, you should get in class, right, and learn how to live free, right? You got to be free in your mind before, because listen, we're the oppressors. The oppressors are good at their tricks, right? I'm going to say this before I read these announcements. The oppressors are good at their tricks. They took the chain off our neck and told us we're free when we weren't free. Right? So you got to live in your mind like you're free. The only way you're going to understand how to do that is in these classes. Slovakia. Right? The only way you're going to learn how to do that is in these classes. Hold up. All right. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves to the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, verses 8 to 10, Ma'ashra, which means tenth in Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Up and coming holy convocations. The next holy convocation is coming up this Friday, right? We got the Feast of Tabernacles coming up. It's going to be Friday the 29th of September to Saturday the 7th of October. You can find it in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, verses 34 to 44. Reminder to Akim and Akwath to check the bulletin boards in your school, any of the social medias, right? If anybody wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. With that said, Men of Israel, I.M.A.J, which means to stand. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J Shabbat, I.M.A.J Barak, Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Barakatham, Yajamata, turn and face the sisters. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J Shabbat, I.M.A.J Barak, Yahweh Shema Alatham Bashem Yahshua, Yajamata. Hands down, class dismissed. Clap it up.